Ever wrestle with a decision? Like really go back and forth. That cookie that looks so good, but maybe not the best for the fitness goals.
Yeah, that internal debate, that's kind of what we're diving into, right? This whole idea of what motivates us.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We got this podcast proposal, and it's all about pleasure versus pain. Like, which one is really in the driver's seat when we make choices? So let's unpack it, shall we?
That
What do you think of how they tackled those definitions right off the bat? Pleasure and pain.
It's kind of like at first glance you think, well, duh, everyone knows what feels good and what doesn't.
right.
But then they get into how subjective it all is. What's pleasurable for one person can be straight up painful for someone else.
Oh, tell me about it. I am that person who piles on the hot sauce. Love the burn. But some of my friends, they take one look at my plate and they're like, are you trying to hurt yourself?
Totally. And the proposal, it brings up those big philosophical hitters, hedonism versus utilitarianism.
Okay, so break that down for us.
So, like, hedonism, it's all about maximizing pleasure, right? If it feels good, do it, that kind of thing. But utilitarianism, that's more like, what's the best outcome for the most people? It's less about individual pleasure and more about the greater good.
Fascinating. So give me an example of how those two would duke it out in a real-life situation.
Okay, so let's say you win a chunk of change, right? A nice little vacation fund. The hedonist in you might be all about book the trip, I'm out of here, beach, relaxation, pure bliss.
Sounds pretty tempting right about now, I gotta say.
Right. But the utilitarian side might be like, hold up, what if I invested this or used it to start that side hustle I've been dreaming about? What about the long-term benefits for me and my family?
Okay, yeah, I see the dilemma. Two very different approaches to the same pile of cash.
And this is where the proposal really dug into the nitty-gritty, at least for me. It reminded me that this isn't just some abstract philosophical debate. Our brains are right there in the middle of it all. That whole reward system, remember, that plays a huge role in how we decide between those tempting treats and those long-term goals.
Oh, yeah. It's like that feeling you get after crushing a workout, right?
Yeah.
That sense of accomplishment. Pure dopamine, baby.
Exactly. Our brains are wired to seek out those dopamine rushes, those feel-good moments. It's like a little internal reward system that pushes us towards certain experiences, things our brain associates with pleasure.
So it's not just willpower battling temptation. There's actual brain chemistry at play.
Precisely. But get this, the proposal argues that it's even bigger than our individual brains. Our culture, our upbringing, those play a massive role in shaping what our brains even recognize as pleasurable or painful in the first place.
Whoa, that's kind of blowing my mind a little. So you're saying it's not just our wiring, it's our environment that influences what our reward system latches onto.
100%. It's like our environment fine-tunes those internal reward systems. Think about it in some cultures, delaying gratification, that's like a badge of honor, a sign of discipline. But in others, it's all about indulging, living in the moment.
So fascinating how all that works. I never thought about it like that before. And you know what else really struck me? It was that whole idea of finding a balance between chasing pleasure and dodging pain. Like, is it even possible to strike that balance?
Right. Can we have our cake and eat it too, but like in a way that doesn't totally derail us? It's a great question, and honestly, there's no easy answer. But the proposal suggests that maybe discomfort isn't always a bad thing. In fact, it might even be good for us.
Yeah, okay, I've heard that before. But how so? Give me an example.
Well, think about any challenge you've ever overcome. It probably wasn't all sunshine and roses, right? There's probably some stress, maybe some setbacks, some moments where you wanted to throw in the towel.
Oh, for sure.
But pushing through those tough times, that's often where the growth happens. It's like no pain, no gain, right? But instead of just physical fitness, we're talking about personal growth, resilience, all that good stuff.
Okay, that makes sense.
Okay.
It's like by facing those uncomfortable moments head on, we learn and develop in ways we wouldn't if we just stayed in our comfort zones all the time.
Right. It's not about becoming some kind of pain-seeking masochist or anything. It's more about reframing how we think about discomfort. It can be a signal that we're stretching ourselves, growing.
This whole conversation, it's making me rethink those moments when I'm tempted to just take the easy way out. Maybe a little discomfort is a sign I'm actually on the right track, you know?
Totally. And it seems like this proposal is building towards this idea that it's not really an either situation with pleasure and pain. It's more about understanding the interplay between the two. They both have a role to play in what motivates us, what drives us.
Like a delicate dance.
Exactly, a complex, intricate dance. And just like any good dance, it's about finding the rhythm, the flow, right? And that rhythm, it's going to be different for everyone. Our unique experiences, our biology, the cultures we come from, it all mixes together to create this one-of-a-kind dates between seeking good feelings and trying to avoid those negative
This
ones.
has been such an eye-opening deep dive. I mean, who knew we could go so deep on pleasure and pain? It's so much more than just, do I want this donut or not?
Right.
Absolutely.
And it makes you think, doesn't it?
It really does. So here's something for everyone listening to chew on. As you go about your day, pay attention to those moments when you have to make a choice. Big or small, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
What's motivating that decision? Are you leaning into pleasure? Are you trying to sidestep something that might be painful or uncomfortable? And how much of that is your brain chemistry talking? How much is your background, your upbringing, all those things that make you, you? It's a question worth pondering for sure.